Ladies and gentlemen, the American jury and Bulldog Nation, I'm in a great mood. I'm fired up, ready to rock and roll. Little Trump rally last night. As always, we're sponsored by Parks Yoga. We've got a new sponsor tomorrow. I want to just stress about Parks Yoga. And I really appreciate all of you that live in the Northern Kentucky community, especially in Independence and Southern Kenton County, would support my son's yoga studio. Josh Wentz from Bulldog Media apparently was working with him yesterday on doing a video. He's been in business for a year. He's refined what he's doing. He's an incredible yoga instructor. Everybody who goes loves it. It takes a while to find your page. You know, it's going to be hot yoga, normal yoga. He's found his niche. He's getting his legs there. And I would appreciate all you young moms especially, check out Parks Yoga right here in Independence. It's the only, well, there's another yoga studio at Madison, but Parker's studio is state-of-the-art. It's safe, plenty of parking, plenty of lighting. Check it out. You'll love it. All right. Platforms. Always check them out, too. Now let's get to the meat of our show. Trump update. Well, there's going to be a convening of the grand jury at 3 o'clock today. Rumor is there's another witness to testify. After Richard Costello testified, we'll see what happens. I came up with a great line. You know, Alan Bragg is saying, hey, we're not going to be intimidated. No, Alan Bragg, we're not going to be intimidated. You know, you don't throw a weak punch and not expect a strong counter, as I said. Now, you heard me say this yesterday, and you know that I love to be different than all these other national pundits, and I get it right way more times than I get it wrong. What did I say yesterday? I said it would not shock me. See, you have to understand what goes on in these situations. And see, I've been in the club car in enough relationships. For example, I grew up as a young man sitting in my dad's office, his law office, while he was conducting business with the bankers, the bishop, all these people. And I sat there and regardless of what everybody else knew, I knew what was going on in situations. And I'm telling you, I know situations now. There is no way in hell there's not some back channels going on, especially when you got Democrats who say you shouldn't do this. And I even think the guy that might be working behind the scenes for Trump and the Democrats in a weird way is possibly Bill Clinton. He is a revered member of that old guard. And I could hear Bill Clinton calling up Alan. Alan, how you doing? Yeah, this is Bill. Listen, buddy, I just want to tell you right now, I'm trying to look out for you. Don't do it. Don't do it, man. I'm telling you, just don't do it. I could see that happening. I can tell you, I can see it happening. Because now there's talk. There has not been communication to Trump people saying, the indictment is coming today. So Bragg might be despite his tough talk, he might be looking for an out where he gets to come out and say, listen, we did our job, we presented this, there's no indictment, let's move on. That could happen. We did our part last night at our little rally in Boone County, and we're starting something called Make Noise for Trump. And hashtag, let's hope it catches fire. Let's make as much noise as we can for Donald Trump. How about that? 1, 2, 3, let's make noise. 1, 2, 3. Gwyneth Paltrow. I love commenting on some legal matters. By the way, the lead story in local news, I'm going to explain the indictment process. I didn't know about this. Gwyneth Paltrow had a ski accident where she ran into somebody, or they ran into them. And there's a controversy who ran into who, but the person that hit her or she hit them is apparently like in a bad shape, physically. And there's a trial going on whether or not she's at fault, they're at fault, whatnot. So far, the facts look bad for old Gwyneth. Looks like they crashed into each other. He's laying on the ground dying. She leaves. Weird stuff. All right, Stephen Smith. This is, if you've watched the Murdaugh documentary, you know about this. This is the young kid, gay kid, that was hanging out with Buster Murdaugh that ends up dead near the Murdaugh compound. The investigation is reopened. Can you imagine this, folks, if now Buster goes down? Although I think other people probably had him killed for Buster, but you never know. Can you imagine if Buster goes to jail too? Wow. DeSantis is screwing up. And now he's insulting Trump about, oh, there was drama in the Trump White House and there's not drama in Florida. Yeah, you say that because the entire liberal media apparatus came down on him, old Ron. I like Ron DeSantis' policies. He's done a good job in Florida. But you know what? Like Trump points out, Florida has inherent positives that have nothing to do with Ron DeSantis. You know what that is? Warm weather, rich retirees. Trump pointed that out, and he's right. The other thing is, Trump got behind him so he could win the Republican primary and become governor. For Ron DeSantis to be considering running against Trump is disloyal as hell. And I don't like him for it. I'm not Ron DeSantis. I'm Trump. I'm Trump today. I'm Trump tomorrow. World Baseball Classic. I got two sports stories because they're so great. Last night, I watched this. I've been paying attention to it. They lost to Japan 3-2 in the finals. And you can't make this up. Ohtani, the guy that pitches and hits for the California Angels, pitched the last inning. And the last batter to face him was Mike Trout, his teammate from the Angels. Trout's considered the best Major League Baseball. He sure didn't have a good series, though. Trout doesn't seem to be ready for prime time. Maybe it's good he doesn't make the playoffs. But Trout is considered the best baseball player in America. Ohtani is considered the best baseball player from Japan. And maybe the best baseball player in the United States. Ohtani pitched to Trout and struck him out. I was so mad. Team USA all the way. But it was a pretty cool sports moment. Then next, I'm going to comment about this. Rick Pitino has got the St. John's job. I have been clamoring for UK to do what Xavier did with Sean Miller. Looked how that worked out with Sean Miller and Xavier. They brought him back. UK ought to bring back Rick Pitino. Pitino recruited almost as good as Calipari. He recruited well. And you know what Pitino is? He is a game coach. I would pick Rick Pitino over Krzyzewski, Izzo. Calipari's not even in the conversation. Bill Self, if I could pick a guy in Pitino's style of full court press, running, shooting, that intensity, guess what? You can have an off night shooting, but if you're hustling like that, you can still win ball games. He's the only guy to take 3 teams to the NCAA finals. Providence, Louisville, and UK. The guy is something else. He's won 2 national championships, one with Louisville and one with UK. By the way, he got a tattoo of a cardinal on him. I wonder if he's going to get a tattoo of St. John's. St. John's a big-time program. Look what he did at Iona. He got Iona twice to the NCAA tournament in 3 years. This is the Bulldog. Every dog has their day. Coming up is yours truly in local news. Ladies and gentlemen, the American jury and Bulldog Nation, welcome to Bulldogtv Local News. As always, we're sponsored by Parks Yoga. And when there is not like a clear lead story that I'm not going to carve out and clip, what I like to do is I like to focus on something that I can educate you about that I think is relevant. And it comes up all the time, and it's in the news now because of Donald Trump in New York, is the word indictment. I want to explain to you what an indictment is so you understand it. Now, what I'm about ready to share with you goes on in state court system. So, for example, like here in Kenton County, Rob Sanders is the Commonwealth attorney, so he can convene a grand jury and seek an indictment. And in addition to that, a federal grand jury can be held and also obtain an indictment. So here's what happens. If you commit a misdemeanor in the presence of a police officer, they can arrest you. If you commit a felony in the presence of law enforcement, they can arrest you. So you can be charged with a crime directly by law enforcement. It's a felony, and it has nothing to do with an indictment. It's called an arrest warrant, a criminal complaint. You're just arrested. Okay? That's what happens. It happens a lot in hot crimes, violent crimes. Then you have situations where it's not hot. Nobody got shot and killed and the police show up and somebody's standing over there. It's like, okay, this person's been murdered and we don't know who murdered them. Now, here is what a federal prosecutor can do and a state prosecutor can do, a Commonwealth attorney. In Ohio, it is the prosecutors. Right now, it's Melissa Powers. It used to be Joe Deters. And here's what they can do. They can charge you straight up. And they don't need, it's called an information. They don't have to take it to a grand jury. But here is what they do a lot of times. If there is an ongoing investigation, what they do is they convene a grand jury. And what a grand jury is, it's a jury of citizens. They're secret. Nobody knows who they are except the prosecutor. And what they convene that grand jury only when they want to present something to the grand jury. So in the case of Donald Trump, for example, they convene the grand jury, and then they can have Stormy Powers come and testify to them. They can have Michael Cohen testify, Richard Costello testify to them. Now, here is what usually goes on. The only person who presents evidence, and it can be documents too, police officers always testify to the grand jury. But the grand jury, when you convene a grand jury, you can use that to carry on an investigation. You can issue subpoenas for people to come testify at the grand jury. You can subpoena documents. So the grand jury is a mechanism for a prosecutor to carry on an ongoing investigation before anyone is actually charged. Usually, at all times, the only person who presents to a grand jury is the prosecutor. It's the prosecutor's ball game. There is an old joke that goes way back that you can indict a ham sandwich, meaning that if the prosecutor wants to indict somebody, he can indict somebody. Why? He's in charge. He's the only one presenting evidence. He's the only one calling witnesses. The grand jury looks at that prosecutor like he's God. Then why would he be giving us this information unless something is wrong? Now, there's some more rules you need to know about. A grand jury is supposed to be secret. Their testimony is supposed to be secret. Their deliberations are supposed to be secret. In Georgia, in the Trump matter, the judge wanted to release grand jury testimony. That is highly, highly inappropriate and different. Now, here's some more things. You as a criminal defendant or a target of a grand jury, you can, in fact, request the prosecutor that you go testify at the grand jury. Sometimes prosecutors will invite the target. You want to come testify to the grand jury? You can testify to the grand jury. The only person asking questions of that grand jury, though, will be the prosecutor. But the bottom line is you can present yourself if you're a target. Trump chose not to do that, I think, if he was even asked to do it. Now, in my legal career, several times, I actually had my client asked to testify at the grand jury, went to testify at the grand jury, and they avoided an indictment. Here was the strategy. Getting indicted for a rape that you didn't commit sucks. Getting indicted for a crime you didn't commit sucks, because then you have to fight that crime. If you can head it off the pass, head it off the pass. The people that I had go testify at the grand jury were innocent. They were able to prove their innocence to the grand jury and avoid an indictment. Now, when the grand jury's finished, investigation, testimony, the prosecutor calls for the grand jury to vote. And that's when they vote whether to indict or not. So this process gets played out every day across this country in state and federal courts. It's playing out right now in a federal court in Manhattan. By the way, the prosecutor has power to dismantle the grand jury. He can change his mind and say, okay, no more, I don't need you anymore, see you later, and there's never even any vote. He can't ignore what the grand jury does. The prosecutor controls it. Now, this is something really important for you to remember. Simply because someone is indicted, they're not guilty. And you need to always remember that an indictment is a one-way street. It's one side. So you got to take that, I wouldn't want to be indicted. Nobody would want to be indicted. But it doesn't mean you're guilty. So explain that probably better than you've ever heard it explained before. You're welcome. Now let's get on the rest of the news. Covington man Jacob Roberts will likely spend the rest of his life behind bars for committing a double murder. Roberts pleaded guilty to killing Madison Klumps and Dylan Carpenter in 2021 in Demossville. Sad, sad, sad. I remember this. Roberts shot the pair 8 times at close range during a robbery at Carpenter's home. Cincinnati police force currently running 16% below a standard level. Chief Teresa Thigi is predicting a looming shortage of officers on the force over the next 6 years. See what happens when you start defunding, start dogging the police? The city didn't hire any officers from 2009 to 2013, which has contributed to lower numbers. And the defund the police movement. Cincinnati Public Schools are facing a $48 million budget cut next year. The school board will try to discuss proposed changes and budget cuts at a scheduled meeting April 10th. $2 million has been rewarded to 6 northern Kentucky cities to help curb homelessness. Covington, Newport, Erlanger, Ludlow, Bellevue, and Dayton will split the funds. Tragic accident in Louisville yesterday took the life of an 8-year-old boy, Eli Hill. My God, it just crushes me. He was playing at basketball at home when the backboard collapsed on him, causing severe chest trauma. Unbelievable. Kentucky State news. There's only 2 more days remaining in Kentucky's 2023 General Assembly session that started in January. Lawmakers have approved more than 120 new bills that will now be reviewed by Andy Beshear. And also in local news, Trump rally last night. It was a great success. Check out all the videos. Lawmakers in Indiana, got some Indiana news, are moving legislation forward to ban gender-affirming care for minors. If passed, the bill would prohibit physicians from providing gender transition procedures to minors. It would also ban puberty blockers and hormone therapy. Somebody came with a great comment to me. They said, we don't let people drink till they're 21. I mean, these major decisions, you can't vote till you're 18, all this stuff. Why the hell would we allow people who don't even know what the hell they're going to do in their life to make these kind of decisions? It's nuts. In Ohio State news, Ohio nurses gathered at the State House to lobby for legislation they say will improve patient care. Their focus would mandate nurses to patient ratios throughout the state. Unacceptable levels right now. Coming up next, Spindley in World News.
Hello, Bulldog Nation. The latest news headlines. Russian forces have attacked several Ukrainian cities, killing at least 4 people in a drone attack strike on residential area of Kiev region. A United Nations report has warned of a looming global water crisis and an imminent risk of shortage due to overcompensation and climate change. Thousands of delegates will attend a 3-day gathering in New York City, which begins today. At least 12 people have been killed and more than 200 injured after a powerful earthquake shook large parts of Pakistan and Afghanistan. The 6.5 magnitude struck late last night and damaged buildings and triggered landslides. President Vladimir Putin has said Russia would be forced to react if the UK sent shells made with depleted uranium to Ukraine. The UK confirmed it would provide armor-piercing rounds, but have insisted they have a low risk of radiation. And in sports, WBC champion Tyson Fury was set to fight Alexander Usyk later next month. Usyk, who is the WBA, IBF and WBO world champion, is set to walk away from the fight. Until tomorrow, take care. Have a fantastic day.